Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the late edition of the Council on Future Conflict. My name is Scott. I am the proprietor of the Future Conflict channel. Well, today is episode 709. We've got on deck 2 minutes to midnight. We're going to be talking about this whole CIA Russia situation. And we've got Enough is Enough. The people of Sweta or Quetta or however you pronounce that place in
Wait, though.
northern Morocco is they have finally had enough, and the people rising up. Oddly enough, the the police aren't happy all of a sudden that the people rising up rather than the migrants. So you we'll see what happens here. Joe, how you doing? I know we had a little bit of a late start today, not for any lack of Joe showing up on time, that's for sure. Um,
Well, as a Marine, I learned to dummy cord all of my gear to my body because Marines tend to lose things. What I failed to do this morning was dummy cord you to me, and we were here chatting, and then you wandered off, and oh, where'd he go? But that's
well,
okay. I know you had things. I'm gonna blame it all on Bobby Ray McCullough and his propensity, yeah, to take his wife on cruises, and
this
that's
is
the
a picture
problem.
of me helping pack my parents' car to go on their cruise today. So fair seas to my dad and my mom while they're on a like a nice little well deserved vacay. And but that being said, they decided to leave right as we were supposed to be starting the show, and that of course threw a
Well,
wrench in
I'm
everything.
going to
And
point
it
out that your father was also Army, so once again, it is still Army's fault.
well, now normally I would agree with you, Joe. The problem is that there should be a little Marine in here getting everything ready to go while I'm off doing things. And yet, unfortunately, Watcher has come down with a bit of a stomach bug, and so he's unable to join us this
Apparently, the
morning.
Nephilim Marine Corps is not the same as the United States Marine Corps.
That's exactly right. So yes, so that's what I meant in my thing where the Army had to save the Marines at the last minute.
Ah,
Not you, not for any lack of the problem is the other Marine guy saw fit not to give Joe any access to the channel. So
I know,
uh,
right? And Jay Clark, he's not without adult supervision. Sue is there, and she's got him under control.
yeah, but it no, this is not. It shouldn't be like mom. I have to do my show with my friends. It has to be, but honey, I have to do my show with
Yeah, I
my
literally heard you say that.
friends. Anyway, uh, wait, that's you're not wrong here. I know Joe's not a fan of renaming the lake, but you're the best thing about the whole thing is listening to the Canadians whine. That
No,
has
the,
been
the the
pretty good.
worst thing about it is listening to all of the trust the plan people tell you how it's somehow
No, I
46
said the
D
best
chess
thing.
is going to make the Russians trip up somehow.
Yeah, that I don't get. The trust, the whole. Here's the other thing too, Joe. I have seen some trust the plan types kind of resurfacing. Though the good news is I don't hear anybody talking about Q anymore, which is chef's kiss. I'm so glad the whole Q nonsense is behind us.
Uh, I'm glad you found that corner of the world. I haven't found it yet. Uh,
Yeah, I
People
don't
still
see it
tell me
at
that
all.
everything Donald Trump does is 36 steps ahead of everyone else.
Well, but see, those people are just delusional rather than conspiracy delusional. All
Listen, if
right.
you're saying Canada declared war, Canada has done no such thing. Stop it.
Now they are in basically what amounts to a trade war with us based on their reciprocal tariffs, but
That's not a declaration of war. I
by the
assure
way,
you, things would be very different if there had been.
we did our best to steer Sean's show into Council on Future Conflict, the night edition, from the chat. We got him talking about bauxite and things like this. So that was we had a see Westby trust the plan. Uh, Anyway, so yeah, we were both in Sean's chat last night, shilling for the show. Hopefully we get a couple of people from Sean's chat to come on over today, learn the benefit and love of CFC. And in addition to me and Joe, we're hoping to have a couple more folks pop in this morning, so we'll see what we can get. Um, no promises, but hey, when are there ever promises in life? Really, let's be honest. Um, all right, Joe, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Well, my neck of the woods is kind of a big swath of woods, but not much. We're getting ready for a pistol class tomorrow, a women only basics of pistol shooting. I got Hunch coming in to be a range safety officer for the weekend.
Yeah,
Um,
shocking that he comes in to be a range safety for the ladies class.
Hey, we're doing what we can to put Hunch on the right path, but I think that the ladies in this ladies class are a bit beyond his desired age range, but that's okay. Um,
Don't
it's gonna be a
don't
good
push
time.
anything past our friend there.
Yeah, we're moving forward with all of the remodel projects we have going on here. Just got a quote for the heating for the lodge building, and it's not nearly as bad as I might imagine, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's good.
And we're pushing forward, making more things happen here at the camp. And we are in full prep mode for NC Scout and Kay to come out here, along with Gene and Sarah from Mobile Outdoor Skills Training for all of our classes in September. So
And just
we have a lot going
remember,
on.
you know, uh, I'm going to get to it before Joe has a chance. But if you have any desire or plans to come out there and do courses with them at the camp, make sure you let people know ASAP, because that's going to be the best way to make sure that all those courses actually occur. Even if you don't pay until the last minute, or if you have a side deal for trade or barter or whatever, make sure they know about it ahead of time, so that you know, so that they can count you against their numbers.
Yeah, we've had some actually show up out here, and the classes had been canceled because they didn't tell anyone they were coming. And so, yeah, you have to make sure we know. And Balinkel, dude, Cougars with Guns: The Continuing Adventures of Hunch the Dirty Roofer. He would probably go with Puma because it's more of a Spanish pronunciation, but yeah.
That's funny. Um, all right, I'm just kind of looking through the
J-Sup,
notes.
yes, we saw that, and we just discussed it a little bit, but we will see.
All right. I'm sorry. My notes are only half formed. I did most of them last night. Bear with me here. Yeah. Yeah, not a whole lot going on in my neck of the woods. Anything interesting happen online for you before we kind of jump into the show topics today, Joe? That anything the one thing that I will say, they're dropping like flies after Dolly, right? She kind of uh, kicked it off. We've got Dolly died, and then Tim Curry died, and then Peter Cullen died. The voice of Optimus
Yeah.
Prime. So there's your three,
Among
right?
many others. I mean, he voiced more
Right.
than just Optimus Prime, but
Well,
yes.
sure, yeah, yeah. That's the one everybody knows him from. But there's so many. Like I was listening to a YouTube show about him the other day, um, yesterday, after I heard about his passing, and the guys who was they were talking about it and just listing all these things. And while I didn't watch a lot of those cartoons, like I recognized almost all the names of all the cartoons that they were listing. I was like, man, he was just all over the place. So, yeah.
So I will point out that there was an interesting online interaction that happened. around flock safety, and that is that my friend Mark, also known as Anti-Pattern,
Yeah.
has been booted permanently from X for daring to post the location of a couple of flock cameras, which happened to be at the homes of flock camera executives. And ironically, the people who told us we have to be prepared to give up a little privacy for safety don't want to give up any of their privacy. Even though the houses were blurred out in the photos that were shared, they still booted him permanently. So
Yeah.
I find
Well,
that a little ironic. So
yeah, this whole flock thing is I think it's getting close to critical mass. We saw 3 young men arrested yesterday for pushing over, I guess, a flock camera and smashing it with a hammer. Now, this is like one of those kind of good judgment or good initiative, poor judgment kind of calls. You got to be smart if you're gonna do something like a protest like that. You got to be smart about it. You got to protect
well,
yourself.
first of all, I want to inform you that they are alleged to have done this. Both
Yeah,
NC Scout and I both clearly recall these students being in class. He had them in a SIGINT class at the time. I had them out here in a fieldcraft class at the time, so they couldn't possibly have done it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good point. Interesting.
And Hunch,
Interesting,
grossly inappropriate comment, but also correct.
but also correct.
Uh,
Wait, I mean, when it's true though, Joe. I mean, come on. All right. Let's see. What else do we have here? Um, Speaking of dead people, I'm gonna put this one up first, since it kind of gives us a nice segue into the odds and ends. Now, not indicative of any kind of uh, potential future conflict, but definitely a conflict that kind of closing the chapter on this conflict. Radko Mladic, ex Bosnian Serb warlord who oversaw the atrocities, dies as a prisoner at 84 years old. Now, yeah, Radko Mladic, that guy was a fucking piece of work. Like right out of the old school World War II era kind of playbook. Well, these pesky people, just kill them all. I mean, that's the easy thing to do. We just kill them all. We don't have to worry about them anymore. Uh,
he should have died as a prisoner in his 50s.
yeah, he should have died from a noose, if you ask me. But what do I know?
Yep.
Anyway, Ratko Mladic, the bullish Bosnian Serb general whose forces besieged the Bosnian capital for several years in the 1990s and carried out the worst massacre in Europe since World War II, died Thursday while serving a life sentence for his crimes. The UN officials said he was 84. Mladic died at a hospital in The Hague. Court officials said a melodic relative spoke to the Associated Press on the condition of anonymity because of the sensitivity of the situation, confirmed the reports, and said Melodic's son Darko Melodic was on his way to the Dutch city. Wasn't he like a bad guy too?
Yeah.
Yeah. The UN Tribunal for War Crimes committed during the wars in the former Yugoslavia in the 1990s, sentenced Mladic to life in prison in 2017 in what was considered a key step towards bringing justice to the victims. He had been in custody since 2011 after many years on the run. So, I mean, like, this is a good example of a broken clock being right with the International Criminal Court. That being said, ultimately it was just these European countries were sick of him, and decided to try them on basically their own volition. Which is exact. So here's the thing: if you really don't like somebody, don't hide behind international courts. Just say we're going to go grab this guy and we're going to bring him to our country and we're going to try him for for war crimes. You know,
What we should have done was said, "Hey, he's a valid military target, and we just
exactly
kill
right.
him on the field."
Uh, Coagan says, "Thank you for all the great shows over the years. Watch you since the start of the Ukraine war." Hey, we appreciate your long time service. That is a name that I am not familiar with from the chat, so appreciate you. It's always cool to see somebody who's been a long time viewer, but doesn't speak up very often. So that's awesome. Uh, Yeah, I appreciate the monetary support. I do. Uh, we will. By the way, Joe, I've been kind of working towards this for a little bit. I'm re-energizing locals today, so I'll be
Good.
writing about the Quetta uprising. Uh, we've talked about you know this on several of the previous shows, so I went back through the transcripts and found some some of the kind of points from that, and I'm basically distilling it into a blog post today. So I hope you guys enjoy that. I'll post about it over. Speaking of posting, hello, Mr. Old Hong Kong.
How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. We're just chit chatting about Radko Mladic getting his eternal damnation finally.
Oh
So
dear. Yeah. Yeah,
Couldn't happen to a better guy.
being a Serb is a difficult thing.
yeah,
You
I
know,
mean,
I forgot to tell
yeah.
you, Scott, I had an interesting thing happen to me Wednesday, like immediately after the show ended. Do you know what happened?
What happened?
Jim walked in the door.
Oh, he showed up
Old
late for the
Hong
show.
Kong walked in, and we got to sit and visit for a while. He got to see his favorite dog, and it was all good.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
awesome. What's going on with you, Jim?
Just working, you know. Phone calls. Trying to get everything sorted out. Uh, World's changing.
Yeah.
Probably hopping on a plane to Europe. So yeah, just same stuff, different year.
Yeah, I almost called you last night about some of the interesting traffic I was seeing related to Europe. Be like, are all your people okay right now, Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What a
Yeah, we'll
world.
be
What a world. I
yeah, we'll be talking about that for sure in our 2 minutes to midnight segment because like if you guys weren't watching the news yesterday, like what was it like last night is like when it really started to kind of heat up like in the
No,
evening.
I think it started to heat up the night before last when
Well,
Radcliffe made a surprise visit.
Well, right, but essentially nobody knew nothing until Russia and the English started talking, and then everybody in fucking Europe decided to start running their mouths. And you know, uh, the former Estonian president says it has nothing to do with Russia, and it was about Iran, which makes me feel like it's even more about Russia. Uh, so
Right.
but here's the thing. I can't remember who said this. I want to say it was a U.S. Person, but yeah, Russia will not strike a European country. Will not drop bombs or drop missiles on a European country. But cyber is an entirely different thing. So
I
we'll
don't
talk
know.
more.
Maria Zakharova made a statement the other day that was directly contrary to that.
Yeah. So keeping us off guard is going to be their modus operandi. They're going to keep screwing around. And what we've learned about Iran is Russia's going to be the same way as when things begin to come apart in Russia, there will be hardliners who do stupid shit. I mean, you can almost guarantee that outcome, right? And
Yeah.
everybody will try to negotiate their own deals. But the system the system is under an immense amount of pressure. Uh, so, and Europe wants to kind of tag Trump with instability between now and November. So, anybody who is anti-Trump is going to go wild on this stuff, and anybody who's pro-Trump will try to beat their chests about pretty much anything. But I'm looking forward to going smallmouth bass fishing on Lake America because it's really good. Uh, and there's some people who are really agitated about that.
Well, I mean, let's not piss off anybody because you want to go bass fishing. I mean, what about the fish, Jim? Don't they have a right to survive?
No, it's
Come on.
not those Canadian fish. We can go kill Canadian fish in Lake America. Yeah,
Well, that's true. That's true. As long as you do it in Lake America, they are illegal immigrants, and there is a bounty on illegal
there's a
immigrants
bounty
swimming
on those
in.
Canadian smallmouth. Yeah, it's but what we
No,
have is
most
this
Canadians are largemouth. I assure you.
huh?
Canadians are largemouth, not smallmouth.
Oh man, poor Canadians, poor Canadians. Yeah, it's the tyranny of Ottawa. They've got a
All
lot
right.
on their hands.
Let's see. I'm sorry. I'm making archive links here.
No
You
worries.
know, one of the most common kinds of fish along the Canadian and U.S.
Hold on.
border is the white sucker. I mean, there's a certain irony in that.
They all used to live in
Uh,
they all used to live in Detroit. Now they're all migrating out.
well, hey, Jim, I do have a question. This kind of gets us a little off track, but it'll kind of cover a lot of ground. Clearly we've got what's going on with the oil impacts of, with both Russia and Iran and whatnot. Um, we haven't really talked about China lately. Any big kind of things shaking out with China in the last little bit?
Yeah, well, the Chinese are terribly embarrassed about what's going on in Tibet. And
Oh yeah, unbelievable! Just the only thing worse than all the video that we saw the other day is like the aftermath. That place that we saw, Joe, the border crossing, the port,
Yeah.
that thing is under about like 100 meters of of stone and
What's funny
soil.
is the Chinese announced that they dispatched the garrison of that area to go and help. That's 100 troops, just so you know, which is going to
Yeah,
do nothing,
well, they
right?
can't. So the problem with the Himalayas is it's so high, it's so remote, it's really hard to get anything
Yeah.
in and out of those valleys. And these roadways were the only pathway.
yeah,
So there's a big brouhaha for the Chinese in this, which is what were they doing in the mountains where the problem occurred? Was there road building? Did they put Were they putting surveillance facilities up on these mountaintops and these glaciers? Where did they cut roads? There's going to be a lot of finger pointing. They're trying to maintain the relationship with the Nepalese. The Nepalese have been too close to the Chinese of late. But there's so much disinformation flowing about where this was initiated, where it started. I've seen satellite imagery that conflicts. It'll take time to shake out, but at some point, the Chinese are ultimately responsible for this area because they've been saying to Nepal, "We're going to build all your dams."
yeah,
I'd love to see where all the dams are being built, and for some reason, the satellite imagery is not updating very well. My guess is there's a huge amount of political activity by the Chinese to try to stay out of the fray because they know that something's coming their way. And once they go into Nepal to support Nepal on this, it's going to be hard to get them out. So the Indians are clearly trying to push into Nepal to help the Nepalese. It's going to be a who can offer more help quicker. Um, and I think the U.S. should probably just stand back, send in a few C-130 loads, and help the Indians where they can. But this is one of those things where Mother Nature just comes and crushes you, and there isn't an option. And
yeah.
glaciers do this, but on this scale in a populated valley, it's pretty amazing. And if there weren't a lot of foreigners, I don't think you'd be seeing the coverage that you're seeing now. But there are a lot of Brits, a lot of Americans, a lot of tourism. So
Yeah,
And given the animosity and the shenanigans that occur when Indian troops and Chinese troops are in
it's
proximity
true.
to each other, especially at the top of the world,
Yeah,
this could certainly,
cricket bats wrapped in barbed wire. Yeah,
yeah,
it,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. 100%.
it's it's a curious thing. But the Indians, you got to like India. It's a big democracy. They've lost a little bit of their attractiveness here in the U.S. given the H-1B scandals. But ultimately they're a large democracy. I prefer that over anything else. So uh,
Yeah, just to reference what we were talking about, appreciate be prepared for sharing the link in the chat. I think we're saying the same thing. I think 100 meters of stone and soil scoured that place to the and anything that wasn't swept away is now covered under quite a bit of material at this point. So yeah, I think the Chinese are not prepared to. There's nothing to help here.
Yeah,
Um,
there isn't a recovery here. This is a you find the bodies you can find, you relocate the populations for a couple of years, and then you come back and try to restructure this. But it's clear that they did not monitor the valley properly, right? And so the electronic monitoring, it's embarrassing they didn't see any of this or weren't prepared for this.
Well, and evidently the location where the initial everything, the glacier lake that let go or whatever, where that happened, was in Tibet. So basically, the flood started in Tibet, goes into Nepal, through Nepal, and then back into China.
So the
Uh,
first day of this event, the Chinese came out and insisted that it started in Nepal. So
right.
this finger pointing will go on, and there will be false imagery and all sorts of things. I'm really looking for a good definitive. And I've seen photographs of various glacial outcroppings and so on and so forth. But this is big chunks of mountains moving. This doesn't
Yeah,
happen
yeah.
a lot.
Well, there was one video of essentially what looked like I don't know, a 50-meter boulder just being tumbled through.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, it
I
just
couldn't. I was
rolling
Yeah,
down.
just rolling because it's granted it doesn't probably doesn't need the water to make it roll. Where okay, so here's another one. I'm gonna share this video here. I know this is a little off plan, but I mean it's I think worth seeing and talking about because these
Well,
types of
just
things.
understand I can't be on here for 3 hours today
Oh, well, I
since we
mean,
started so late. So
yeah, I got you. Listen, Joe's like, my time is not your own. So this is just
it's fine.
the this is just the another view of what we've already seen, but it just shows you how powerful just the water is alone. And this is not just water, right? This has got all kinds of shit mixed into it, boulders, trees, now a bunch of buildings, after seeing this right here. And there's no getting away from this.
A couple
Like you
bus
see,
loads full of people.
yeah, you see the people down there with that little red bus, but they're going right into the stream right here. So, and once you get swept in this, I mean, it's like a 1 in 100 chance of surviving. Um, so
Yeah,
the
it isn't the water. This is so there's so much debris that you get beaten to death in the debris flow.
Yeah. Yeah, well, but so the thing I really wanted to bring to mind is, Jim, you kind of remind us of this, is that there is significant international political pressure that is going to be turned on the Chinese. The Chinese have been doing a lot of things. Yeah, the Timu hardware on the dams.
The
Yeah,
Timu dams.
tofu. I mean, essentially, what you have here is tofu drag applied to major construction projects, which is never something uh, that that you should even consider. I mean, I totally understand why corrupt Chinese construction people want to make empty apartment buildings that aren't up to code, but why would you ever accept anything but the best when it comes to these types of projects? I have no idea. Um, I mean,
But giveaway stuff is very often substandard. I mean, we saw it in Egypt with the early Soviet stuff. It's China's no different. So they come in, they say, "We'll give you the money, we'll build it here, we'll build it here." What it is it's control. They want to dominate the Tibetan region because they seized it, and they really want their southern flank protected. So
yeah.
uh, there's going to be a big brouhaha around this.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing too is, will they look to, Joe, we've kind of talked about the Red Storm Rising kind of example. Will they use this as an opportunity to potentially, for future adventurism, maybe Taiwan, maybe the Philippines? We need a distraction. to kind of take our domestic mind off of this kind of thing. And I don't mean a war. I mean just kind of major saber rattling. So there is that potential.
Agreed, agreed. And the Indians are pretty worked up about it. But it's a human tragedy. It really is. Uh,
Yeah.
they had been talking for years about putting sensors in the valley, but my guess is there was a fear of surveillance from the Nepalese side, and from the Chinese side, it was probably money. Um, but I'm surprised the Chinese didn't have this under surveillance. And again, they've had bad flooding this year in China, so they've had dam failures and flooding problems. So this just is a pile on from the standpoint of the party. They're
Well,
not going to be
I'll
very
point
happy
out
about
that
this.
Tibetans are not Han Chinese, so China could very well have had this under surveillance and just not cared. China is not really known for caring too much about the welfare of its denizens, especially in the outlying territories.
Yes. That's well said, Joe.
Now they can move in their own people.
Well, I'm going to guarantee you that some leadership changes will occur in the border.
Yes.
Somebody will
Well,
fall. So,
you know, well,
Mhm.
surprise, surprise. There's always somebody corrupt in charge of something that you can blame in China, even if he was your boy yesterday. Um, you
well,
know,
there's a lesson for us as you watch the DSA sweep into power. They will always find the culpable person when there's a problem, right? It's like
Even
yeah.
if they got to make one up.
they will make it up on the fly,
Oh,
and
100%.
you can see it in the Michigan race as, oh, who's Hassan Piker? I don't know anybody named Hassan Piker. I've never seen the man.
Yeah,
It's
despite the
like,
Right.
fact that
Never
he
heard
was
of
on,
them.
yeah, despite the fact that you were on his show last week.
yeah, I know. It's just absurd. It and these people are toxic. So I think that's well understood by the American electorate. Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Somebody points out that the Dalai Lama said it could have been related to climate change. This is exactly why you should give Dalai Lama the exact amount of credit he is due.
Which is zero. Yeah.
The problem is the Green Movement and the Buddhist movement are very tight and always have been. But kind of like the Pope's words, these people are very left biased going in, and they will stay so. Uh, got a soft spot for the Dalai Lama, but ultimately he is a creature of the passive left. That's where all his support money comes from.
Well, I mean, the problem with the Dalai Lama is the fact that he's totally captured by the left, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
no, absolutely.
and so it's like, and I think he has drinking so much of the Kool-Aid that he probably believes his own propaganda at this point. So
Well, he's been at it so long. I mean,
yeah.
it's really hard to change your stripes as you get older. And trust me on that one. Um, and I just feel really terrible. Oh God.
Speaking of China, since we're on the news of our favorite Chicoms, Joe brings us an interesting story here. A leading Chinese miner in Mozambique's heavy sands linked to environmental destruction. Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
The China doesn't care about the environment. Uh, this guy in Mozambique's like, whoo, the Nepal thing just kind of saved my bacon. My name is out of the news. Says here a sand mining operation along the coast of central Mozambique's Zambezi province decimated hundreds of hectares of mangroves in just a few years. A Manga Bay investigation has found the area is under control of Mozambique Heavy Sand Company. Let's see, part owned by the Jinyang Zhao, Yu Zhao group. A influential Chinese mining group claimed to hold more than 500,000 hectares of land in mining concessions in Mozambique. The area is larger than the size of 700,000 soccer fields. These concessions mostly target heavy mineral sands that primarily yield titanium ores that are used in the production of everything from paints to plastics and sunscreen. Uh, Environmental activists are raising alarm about the risk from heavy metal mining along Mozambique's coast, and local media has documented the growing threat from it. All of the coastal zones of these heavy mineral sands projects. Let's see. These companies are destroying without concern for the environment, without concern for the people, says a advocate for the environment. The Let's see, Global Mangrove Watch, a platform built to track where mangroves are recovering and where they are in retreat, first signaled the losses in Zambezi. Let's see. An Earth observation specialist of Wetlands International told Manga Bay how he noticed an uptick in mangrove deforestation alerts from the region in late 2023. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Chinese mining concerns don't give two shits about mangroves. A surprise there, guys. Can you believe that? I can't believe that.
Crazy.
Now, Mozambique definitely has some rich coastline. They've got mineral wealth, of course, but they also have a lot of natural beauty, and that's what these corrupt governments in Africa completely see this as just an untapped resource, a way to get rich, and a way to line their pockets. That's one of the things that China does very well, is they put money in the pockets of the local strong people who are able to take advantage of this. So I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't continue for quite a while.
So this area of Africa has been heavily invested by the Chinese. Um, and historically, the challenge was that the rivers flood 6 months of the year during the monsoon,
Yeah,
and you have to barge stuff out of the you got to truck it and barge it. So they would come in and put in a temporary port facility and load vessels during the controllable river months. So the Chinese, as we know from watching them in the South China Sea, control the largest fleet of sand mining vessels, or
yeah,
dredges. So they've got these giant suction dredges, and this is how they're building all the islands. But they built a lot of these because they had the river delta ports, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Canton. All of the Chinese ports required this constant dredging. So the Chinese built this massive fleet of dredges, uh, and they've deployed them worldwide now. And so this is an extractive play, but it was an extractive play around getting metallurgical coal out of the interior of Mozambique onto ships for China. So a little more complex than that, but it's been going on for 15, 20 years.
Joe, any other kind of thoughts about this?
Um, it's fueling an insurgency, which is what one of the other stories is that I want to talk about. But China is taking advantage of Africa. Shocking news, right? Breaking news. China takes advantage of Africa. In the classic tale, 1984, what were all of the countries always fighting over? What caused the wars with East Asia and Eurasia for Oceania?
Africa.
And where did they fight them? They were always over Africa and the control of resources. So, one more thing pointing to the fact that George Orwell was right.
Let's see. Wildman for $5 says, off topic, but what the fuck are we even doing in the U.S.? There's literally, like, depending on who counts, 60 to 100 million illegals. We're doing side quests currently. Yeah, off topic, but I don't think there are 100 million
But it's
illegals in
not off
America.
topic. This is 100% my point on Lake America, right? What are we doing right now? We shouldn't be talking about Lake America. We should be talking about extracting millions of illegals from our country.
Yeah, but Lake America gives them 48 to 72 hours of distraction. Everybody is
You're
just
proving
trying.
my point.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. Everybody's delaying through November, so that's the desire. And
I'm not going to argue the benefits of Lake America by it on its own, but I will agree with what Jim just said. There is an information war going on, and I think that this is part of that information war, and it allows them to create information space to do other things. But that being said, that doesn't mean I think it's a good idea. There's other ways to do this rather than to try to own every map out there. Speaking of coastal regions, terror threat looms over coastal destination as U.S. warns attacks could strike without notice. This is in the Cabo Delgado province. Let's see here. Americans are being warned to avoid parts. Shocking that Americans are being warned to avoid parts of Africa. Where terrorists have targeted up, and so this kind of all this is kind of connected, right, Joe? I mean, all like the you know, Mozambique. Let's see, what are all the countries that are around there? There's
They're all the former Rhodesian and South African countries. Around
yeah,
Mozambique, you have Zambia and
Zambia,
Zimbabwe.
right? Yeah, and all
Um,
we've got ISIS in these areas now. I mean, there are a ton
well,
of different.
that's the point of this story is that the Islamic State in Mozambique, albeit a small group, is an exceedingly dangerous group. They attacked a couple of small towns in the last week and have kidnapped foreigners, kidnapped locals, looted the towns, and all that. They are very, very. Just because they're small doesn't mean they're not a threat. They're hyper violent because they're trying to get known.
Yeah.
And the Chinese mining operation only gives them a cause, right?
Yeah, Mozambique, southeastern African country that we just talked about, across from the island of Madagascar, is the subject of an August 21st updated level 2 exercise increase caution advisory from the U.S. State Department. Officials have also designated multiple areas level 4 do not travel, bordered by Tanzania, Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa. Mozambique is known for its Indian Ocean coastline. Although not a tourist hotspot, Mozambique draws visitors for its safari tourism. Um, let's
I was gonna
see.
say I don't know. Cabo Delgado is a
yeah,
well-known
beach
European
resorts.
resort
Yeah.
destination,
Beach
right?
resorts are huge. They're these offshore islands have historically been
Yeah,
really
that's
old.
right. That's right. I forgot about those. Yeah.
Yeah, so up north on the border, there's some beautiful barrier islands. Used to be very good fishing and very quiet, but
And kind of secluded. So like you just fly in and you never even touch the rest of the country. It's like,
Right.
it's all luxury, all that kind of stuff.
yep.
Let's see. The Cabo Delgado province, a do not travel area, is home to safari and wildlife destinations. The State Department also warns that terror groups in northern Mozambique are active and that there is a risk of terrorist violence and attacks. Attackers may strike public areas. This is a quote from the advisory. Attackers may strike public areas and tourist destinations with little or no warning, sometimes taking hostages. Alex Perry, an England based author and veteran foreign correspondent who served as a Time bureau chief, told um, Fox News that the terrorist presence in northern Mozambique is relatively small, but particularly brutal. Mozambique has one of the smaller ISIS groups in the world. Perry said, estimating it as roughly 500 members, and they are spectacularly nasty. Uh, a description that only a British man could give. Spectacularly
Spectacularly nasty.
nasty. Perry, author of the book Blood Will Flow about a deadly Islamist insurgency in Mozambique, said militants in Cabo Delgado have carried out mass beheadings and the region's tourism industry has suffered as a result of the insurgency. Cabo Delgado has historically attracted more exclusive clientele with smaller numbers of wealthy visitors paying high prices for hunting safaris compared to Africa's major mass safari destination. He said, this is almost exclusively hunting safaris, people going to shoot animals. That tends to be smaller numbers of the people paying much higher price. The State Department says Americans who opt to travel from Mozambique are encouraged to enroll in the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. Those who must travel to the area of Cabo Delgado, Nisa, and Napala provinces are advised to consider hiring a security firm. Avoid all but emergency travel between sunset and sunrise, the advisory says, and adding that they should keep a low profile.
Wait, are
So
you
yeah,
telling me it's dangerous in Africa after dark?
can you
What?
believe it? I can't believe that, Joe. So anyway, yeah, this is one of those types of things where I mean, it's not just water is wet, right?
Mhm.
It is the increasing concern that groups like ISIS are even in the southern portions of Africa, right? So they've kind of gotten far afield of their traditional Middle Eastern stomping grounds.
I'm going to point out that ISM only became active after Nairobi Wan Kenobi left Africa and moved to the United States. So they were afraid of Christian, whatever his last name is, the guy who saved the Nairobi Mall.
Yeah,
Christian,
Christian Craighead.
yeah.
Craighead.
But a pro tip for travel. They said they're hire a security firm. If you're traveling anywhere in Africa or the Middle East, call the embassy and ask to talk to the State Department RSO. They have a list of who is reputable and who is not on the security field in those countries. Uh, they're good people to talk to.
Yeah.
Of course,
Uh,
Stormy would like Gideon to come back on. Of course, she would.
Stormy, it's good to see you. Glad you're watching. Appreciate you popping into the chat.
There is
Uh,
actually a patch from me and Gideon's security company right up there on the wall, by the way. If you're going to
Jim,
Africa, let us from protracted operations and extraction specialists, the Poos of the world, help you out.
or hopefully you won't need him to help you out. Let's be honest.
No,
Jim,
everybody needs Poos.
Jim, any final thoughts on this African region?
It's not getting better fast. I mean, the Chinese have stacked up so many deals in Mozambique, it's not going away. Um, the U.S. government had some grand plans to go and dominate some of the minerals in Africa and Latin America, but that doesn't seem to have been executed very thoroughly. So I think we're going to be doing more work at home, which is good. But the NIMBY crowd is already spinning up against data centers. So just wait until the mine opens down the road. People are going to get pretty worked up.
Yeah.
So.
All right, moving on. Let's see. Let me share my screen here.
King Harold's dead.
Yeah, King Harold dies at 89. He was Europe's oldest monarch, and his son becomes King Haakon the Eighth. Let's see here. King Harold of Norway, who went into exile in the United States as a child during the Nazi occupation of his homeland and refused a string of potential brides from the European nobility so he could marry his longtime sweetheart, died Friday. He was 89. The palace said he died at a national hospital in Oslo. Harold was Europe's oldest monarch. The popular king modernized the royal house, but refused to follow the footsteps of other aging monarchs who have abdicated in recent times. His son automatically became King Haakon the Eighth. Like other royal houses in Europe, the Norwegian monarch serves a largely symbolic role, enjoying celebrity status, while real power in the democracy of 5.5 million rests with elected parliament. Harold it was crowned after his British-born father, King Olav V, died in January 1991. And reigned during an oil and gas driven economic boom in his country. A whole nation is in mourning, and the people of Norway are left with a deep sense of gratitude for a long life and service to Norway. For more than 3 decades as a monarch, uh, Harold V demonstrated an unwavering faith in the Norwegian people. He helped us see the best in ourselves and in one another. That's the prime minister. Let's see. So when he was 3, the Nazis occupied Norway, and to avoid capture, his mother fled with him and his sisters. first to Sweden, then by boat to the U.S. Interesting. Talk about being on the run, literally. Uh, Thoughts, Joe?
Uh, I just like the story, the family escaping the Nazi invasion, while the Quislings of the world, ironically that's where the term comes from, decided to play ball with the Nazis. The king did not. Harold's father, and urged his people to resist on and fled to the U.S. So it's kind of that's the only reason why I wanted to share the story, is that these are people to be respected from that regard, right?
Um, Yeah, that's a great point, Joe. Like these are people who actually rise to the challenges during conflict, right? We talk about conflict all the time. What would you do during a conflict? This guy kind of showed the world exactly what he would do. And I like the story, the kind of a romantic story as well, not one of these practical people who just marries whoever their family lines up for him. So there's a lot to like about the guy. Um, I got one last quickie here. Let me.
One last quickie. Okay.
Yeah, in odds and ends here before we move on. Um, Kind of on point with what we've been talking about all week. Let's see. Fire broke out of historic Grand Rapids church destroyed by overnight fire. Fire broke out around 11 p.m. In the basement of the former Seven-Day Adventist building on LaGrave Avenue Christian Reformed Church property, spreading rapidly and causing a floor and partial roof collapse. Acquired in 2017, the structure was set to become a housing respite center for those facing homelessness, a plan now disrupted as Reverend Peter Jonker laments for the loss of his beautiful city treasure. Three firefighters suffered injuries from falling bricks, but are expected to recover. I mean, I'm not saying anybody, in particular, burnt this church down. It could very well have been some kids, playing around oily rags in but it could also have been a targeted church burning. Um, Even though it's not an active congregational church at this point, it's still a symbol for people who don't like Christianity, whoever they
Well,
may
and Grand
be.
Rapids, Michigan isn't what Michigan it considers its Bible Belt, right? The Dutch Reformed Church is based in Grand Rapids, and there are a lot of churches in the area, so it would be a very good symbolic target if that's what it was.
Yeah. So anyway, just I thought I would bring that to your attention. Joe, you want to talk a little bit about tactical wisdom?
Sure. Um, hey, you guys might not know this, but we sell books. And well, no, we have books for sale on our website. We're not doing a very good job of selling very many. So maybe today convince one of your neighbors to buy a set of tactical wisdom books. That's a great idea. But you can also find our training schedule there, where we have all kinds of things coming up, like the basics of pistol for women today, and again on September 12th, and or not today, this weekend, and then on Sunday we're having the NRA's personal protection in the home, which we're also doing on September 13th, which is a class to learn how to defend your home with a handgun, how to make your home more safe, and how to actually use some basic tactical maneuvering in your home, and how to shoot around obstacles and all that kind of stuff. So check out the training calendar. You'll see all my classes for the rest of the fall here and over in North Carolina. If you're going to be at North Carolina during Scout and Recce, the afternoon after we end the Scout course, I'm going to do a 4-hour knife combatives class. It costs $100. We're just going to get out there and stab each other in Matt's backyard, which is always fun. And then that Thursday, between the end of the Recce course and the beginning of my community security apps course, I'm going to run a 1-day unarmed combatives class where we do basic stand-up fighting in the morning and ground fighting in the afternoon. make you a well-rounded combatives person, because going to the firearm isn't always your first choice or the smartest choice during some situations. You need to create space to enable you to do that. So check those out, sign up, make that stuff happen. Stormy, September 12th is your birthday. Then you should come up and take a gun class with us. That'd be a great thing to give yourself for your birthday.
Yeah, that's a great point, Stormy. I think you would really enjoy some of the classes out there, and like I bet Joe would give you a deal, but don't tell anybody that he would.
I won't even require toe picks. Just come and shoot.
All right. Let's all right. So no script today. Go check out brushbeater.com. Use code CFC10 for 5% off all their merchandise. Anything over $150 shipped for free. He literally has everything you need for community defense.
I've never
So
gone to his website and spent under $150. So
yeah. So he has so much great stuff, and he's got new stuff coming as well. So definitely check it out. The sites are good. A lot of people had some really great things to say at Mountain Readiness West about the sites. It was kind of cool talking to people who had actually shot with them. I've never actually seen one in person until I think Joe, you showed me one, I think. But I now have seen his t-shirts live and in person, but I do not have one. So, all right.
well, you need to make a decision too. Speaking of Brushbeater and brushbeater.store, you need to make a decision about October, my friend.
Yeah, I am definitely leaning in that direction. It's just, it's competing events at this point for me versus permission, at least. So that's the
I
one
will
good
just tell you that
news.
Matt is really hoping you'll be there. So
Yeah, I'm really hoping to be there too. All right. Let me move. All right. So this next segment here is one that's very interesting because there's a lot of mystery shrouded uh, in it. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see what's going on here. There. So Radcliffe travels to Russia the other day. We're not sure exactly why. Still haven't officially broke all the story, though there have been leaks, but none of the leaks have been very consistent, I think. Many people said that it had something to do with warning Russia off of attacking a NATO country. And then I don't know if you guys saw this, but ultimately, yesterday I was seeing stories about the Prime Minister of England said that they are already at war with Russia, essentially, and that they were behind some of the long-range missile attacks. And I don't know if that means the intel piece or targeting, or
well,
maybe.
this all was predicated by Maria Zakharova's press conference, where
Yeah.
he said that due to the use of the Storm Shadow missiles and British targeting, enabling them to strike targets inside the Russian Federation, they felt that they had the right to strike back against British military targets inside Ukraine and elsewhere, and that they reserve that right, and that they feel they are justified in it. That's what set off this whole storm of things going back and forth. And knowing Maria Zakharova, she wasn't just speaking off the cuff. It was a well thought out government position considered at the highest levels of the Russian Federation. So
There are a lot of ways to get around attacking a NATO country directly, right? So there is stuff at the high seas, there are cyber attacks, there are, hybrid war type events where it's non-attributable. There are attacks of overseas, installations not on NATO territory. So there are a lot of ways Russia could bring literal physical attacks against British interests. There are British commercial interests. A British ship could go could sink in the ocean. You know, there there are a lot of ways Russia could bring kinetic operations to the UK, and if the UK is stupid enough to implicate themselves in any direct attacks on Russia, then Russia could literally just declare that the United Kingdom is at a de facto state of war with the state of Russia, and that would establish enough of a prior conflict that would preclude any ability for Britain to, or for the United Kingdom to, say, oh, Article 5 protection. All it would take is one or two countries to say, you kind of were already fighting with Russia before they attacked you, weren't you?
Well, the thing is that the easiest way around Article 5 is the same way Russia already got around it when they killed a whole lot of French.
Yeah,
If you recall, sometime it was early last year, they struck a hotel full of French contractors, and I'm going to put the air quotes around contractors because they all look the same and all dressed the same, and we're all in the same building.
yeah,
But their point was they were servicing weapons systems that are being used to attack inside Russia. So that's probably what would happen here. And I will point out that overnight there was a very heavy air package that hit Odessa. And yesterday during the day, they hit the port of Ismail, which is right next to Odessa. And I guarantee you that there are British naval assets there, at the very least, British naval intelligence assets that are assisting the Ukrainians in their mass targeting of Russian ships and shipping going to Russia and Russian ports, which is what has the current flare up so incensed from Russia. Nothing can move on the Black Sea right now because the Ukrainians are hitting everything that even looks like it might be going to Russia. And they're hitting anything that's traveling without an AIS signal. And I don't know that Ukraine actually has their own assets able to do that, but I know that the British do, and they might
yeah.
have some of those in that location. So,
By the way, I just want to say congratulations on successful government service. Again, another round complete. Ron in the chat says, "Hey gang, waiting for the movers. I hate PCS." I'm with you, brother. Still
listen,
waiting.
Ron is literally a lifetime of service, and we are grateful to you, Ron.
Yeah, yeah. Congratulations for getting in there and keeping your good name. And a lot of people don't do keep their good name as political appointees, but you've done it, so we appreciate your service. All right, so on to our first story here. Russia threatens strikes on UK military targets, catastrophic consequences over Ukraine. This kind of hangs on what Joe was talking about, this press conference for Zakharova here. She's in the picture there. Russia warned Thursday that it could strike British military targets inside and outside of Ukraine if Kiev uses long-range British cruise missiles against targets deep inside Russian territory, according to the reports. This came a day after Moscow accused Ukraine of striking a shopping center in Russian-controlled Donetsk with British Storm Shadow missiles, wounding civilians, including children. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova said Thursday that Britain was one step away from becoming legally complicit in what she described as civilian targeted terrorism, warning that failure to change course would bring catastrophic consequences. This is her quote. We have repeatedly warned that any British military installations and equipment in Ukraine and beyond its borders could be targeted in response to Ukrainian strikes on Russian territories carried out using British weapons, Zakharova said at a news briefing in Moscow. She urged British leaders to immediately and most resolute and unequivocal manner abandon the hostile, aggressive line to prevent conflict from escalating to an entirely new level. The British Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, I can't stand this guy, visited Ukraine August 24th for Independence Day when he announced that a defense contractor could release classified information about the British components of a long range Scalp cruise missile as Ukraine and France seek to establish assembly lines in Ukraine, according to the UK government. So, I mean, that's that's pretty different than just handing over, hey, here's 20 missiles, to use. Uh, they're literally standing up factories to build weapons for the Ukrainians inside Ukraine. Um, the entire supply chain for that facility would be a legitimate military target, no matter where it is.
Let me just point out that in the interests of peace and trying to set the world right again, I am willing to meet Maria Zakharova at a place of her choosing and discuss this at length to try and clarify her statement. So, and if we can get Georgia Maloney to come along and mediate, that'd be even better.
Yeah, Rod's got a good point that Andy Burnham is unelected, just like the Canadian Prime Minister. Yeah, it's funny how these democratic countries don't have freely elected. Oh well, it's a representative democracy. We vote for our representatives, and they elect. Well, then why the fuck do we have to? Why can't we use that for our senators again? Don't get me started. All right.
Derna was right too. Labor was like, "What if we replace Starmer with Starmer, but gayer and dumber?"
Spokesperson for Britain's military Ministry of Defense told Reuters London stood shoulder to shoulder with Shana Pashana. We're still in Afghanistan, huh? Shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine as it was committing to providing the equipment Kiev needed to defend itself against Putin's illegal invasion. Russia should no doubt about the resolve of the government to stand against Russian aggression in Ukraine and against UK and our allies. So, is that a formal declaration of direct participation? I mean, it sounds pretty damn close to it to me, but what do I know? Let's see. During his visit, Burnham also hit back at Moscow, condemning Russia's outrageous threats. Russia also warned Britain August 17th that it would pay a price after the Times reported on August 15th that British-made drones supplied to Ukraine were being used to strike military and industrial targets inside Russia for the very first time. Britain's Ministry of Defense did not confirm whether British drones had been used in the strikes. Zakharova made the remarks as President Donald Trump downplayed concerns about a broader war, telling Axios by phone that he was not concerned about Russia would not attack a NATO member. Yeah, so that's just it, right? I think if I had to guess what that CIA trip to Russia was about, it was to guarantee that there would be no attacks on NATO member states in their actual sovereign borders. Which, like I said, that leaves a whole lot of world that they could strike British targets at. A great example is Iran targeting a military base in Cyprus. So, Russia could very well do the same.
Yep.
Uh,
And it also justifies Russia's campaign of sabotage they've been launching all across Western Europe, hitting all of the munitions factories that are supplying the Ukrainians. I seem to recall us on this show a long time ago talking about Russia not tolerating a modern Ho Chi Minh Trail, right?
I also remember a certain Fox telling us that we would never give like major weapon systems to Ukraine. That's how times have changed.
That's what happens when, with the exception of Ron Moeller, you get the Air Force opinion involved.
Well, he moved on to other services.
Yeah,
That's
Ron went straight after the Air Force and went into more legitimate
yeah. Let's see. Former senior Russian officials warn unknown sources could attack UK factories making drones for Ukraine. Like I said, the entire supply chain of these weapon systems are legitimate targets for unknown terrorists, like could be left-wing terror groups and things like that. Russia's former deputy minister, Andrei Fedorov, warned Monday that factories in Britain producing drones for Ukraine could be targeted by semi military or unknown forces in response to UK's expanding military support for Kiev. Fedorov told the BBC's Newsnight show on Monday that Russian President Putin was under pressure from public opinion and the Russian media could take action against Britain. Something might happen to enterprises with factories which are producing drones for Ukraine. They could be attacked not by Russia, but by unknown sources. His comments came after an agreement was announced by British Prime Minister Andy Burnham this week during a visit to Kiev that would see the UK provide Kiev with classified technology to manufacture British and French designed cruise missiles in Ukraine. This sounds like one of those emotional decisions that are made after, oh, I can't believe how bad it is here. These poor people, we got to do something to help them. Uh, this is what happens when bleeding hearts get involved in war. They're always way worse. Um, you know, Jim, I heard an interesting piece of I can't remember exactly where. It's not in any of these stories that I have posted today, but that Russia is at they were able to stockpile a lot of foreign currency and cash reserves over the years, and that's kind of what they've been paying for the war with. But they're starting to get to the bottom of the barrel when it comes to cash reserves. It would have to go into debt. What do you think that means for a guy like Putin's ability to continue to wage this war?
Well, it limits him. I mean, it's all about money. So the Russians have been running transnational criminal enterprise, much like the Middle East, and there's commingling of all this money. Um, so we've taken away Latin America. We've pretty much taken away what's gone on in Iran. So yeah, it's a lot of pressure on China and Russia right now, and their economies are so intermingled that it's going to be hard for both of them. And you see the response. Putin starts taking people down. Xi Jinping goes around the world and starts sweeping up his wealthy people who haven't been paying tax on their offshore stuff. Everybody's looking for money, looking for liquidity. So I don't think Russia had that much cash. But with oil prices bumped back up, somebody's making money somewhere. So my guess is the Russian oil is probably trying to find places like China to pay hard currency for it. But you've got two countries now. It's Russia and China against pretty much everybody else. And the people playing the middle ground were called out by Besant last week. So we have an end game underway, and I think maybe the visit by the DCIA was just a reminder that this is an end game, and we're moving from dependency relationships in Europe to codependency relationships in Europe, and that means that we have something at risk in Europe.
Yeah.
We will own pieces of infrastructure in Europe in a way we haven't in the past. So that's going to change the way the US has to describe its risk. And the Ukrainian attacks on the distribution warehouses, that's kind of like taking Amazon warehouses out here. But there was more of a commercial side to those warehouses in Russia. That would have been like Harbor Supply and Amazon and Costco all in one big bubble. But that kind of attack on civilian infrastructure that is dual use in Europe would involve the US in a way I don't think we wanted the Russians to touch. So as we decouple the dependency and go to the shared risk thing, there's going to be a really unique challenge of what is and what is not on a target list. And I think it was probably a level set.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
I,
Um,
I agree with Jim.
Stormy for $10. Stormy for $10 says, miss causing chaos in your streams more regularly. Everyone, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share. Yeah, absolutely. All those things. Please, whether it's on Rumble or YouTube, please hit the like the video, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Thank you, Stormy. It's nice to see you. All right. Yeah, I tend to agree with you too, Jim. Joe, you want to add anything to that?
No, I just endorse what he said. So
yeah, 100%. Me too. All right, moving on. Trump says Putin will not attack NATO territory, downplays Radcliffe trip. In the greatest tradition of downplaying secret trips by the CIA, director. U.S. President Donald Trump said Thursday that Russian President Vladimir Putin will not attack a NATO country. He played down media reports that CIA Director John Radcliffe warned Russian officials against such an attack earlier this week. He's not going to attack a NATO territory, Trump said of the Russian leader while speaking to reporters in the Oval Office. Earlier that day, Trump told Axios in a phone interview there would be no such attack, and that Radcliffe, who flew to Russia on Tuesday to meet briefly with the intelligence counterparts, had not been dispatched to deliver any particular message. Yeah, so I don't believe that in the slightest.
I don't either for two reasons. One, it was unannounced. And
Right.
two, he flew in a C-17 as opposed to a VC-25A. And a VC-25A is our executive transport plane, which is more in keeping with what he does.
Yeah.
Nah, that
Whereas
story doesn't hold water.
the C-17 is literally a military plane that has all the bells and whistles to
It has
keep
all
it
the
safe.
countermeasures and all of that. And, yeah.
And my understanding is the countermeasures on large planes have gotten very good in the last 5 to 10 years. So interesting development there. All right. Earlier in the day, let's see. Radcliffe sees his Russian counterpart once every 6 months or once every year. They have very good relationship. There's no message, and there was nothing unusual, Trump told the news outlet. Trump's comment came after that. Very well could be. That being said, the timing around this, there's no way in hell that
No.
there
It would
has
have been
more to do with.
announced. It would have been planned months in advance, and they wouldn't have launched it from Estonia, which was meant to thumb a nose in Russia's eyes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the way he did this, kind of was the telltale, if you ask me. Two sources familiar with the matter told Reuters that Radcliffe did bring up the possibility of a Russian operation against a NATO member during the meeting, though it was unclear if that was the sole purpose of the trip. One source said they discussed several topics, including Russia's support for Iran, which has proven an irritant for the U.S. I believe that could be true as well. The sources were granted anonymity to discuss U.S. intelligence. European and U.S. Intelligence officials have long monitored Russian sabotage and gray zone attacks in Europe that fall below the threshold for a full on war, which are generally aimed at weakening NATO's unity and its member states' willingness to support Ukraine against Russian aggression. Amongst the potential plots that Western intelligence officials have been monitoring in recent months is the possibility of Russia uses Ukrainian drone attack a country in the eastern or northeastern Europe. Yeah, here's the thing, Joe. I think there are NAFO bros aplenty are just salivating over the possibility that Russia could potentially do something stupid enough to get NATO involved directly. I think we all kind of know that it'll never happen. Russia is not that stupid. That being said, never assume that a NATO country wouldn't be stupid enough to do exactly you know what they potentially could do, which is,
We've been dumb
you know,
enough to poke the bear this long. We're
right,
dumb enough to keep poking them. But again, I don't think they're going to make a. They're not exactly going to bomb London, right?
right.
But there's a chance of buildings over by Kiev getting schwacked, and it turns out they're full of British people.
Yeah, this is exactly kind of what I'm thinking. And like I said, there are other asymmetric ways they could attack. The cyber attack against a against a UK power plant last week. is the obvious analog to what Russia could do. This morning there is a breaking. Let's see. There's this story here. I do not believe this is Russia, by the way. Let me just say that before I post this, because that's kind of how it's being, I think, being portrayed potentially. Large fire reported near Wembley Stadium in London following reports of an explosion. So everybody is clearly kind of like, oh my God, they were talking about war yesterday, and now there's an explosion in London. Um, I don't think the Russians are this ham-fisted. They would never do something so obvious. But that being said, who knows what
Well,
could be the source of
what I'm
this?
most concerned about isn't necessarily an actual Russian strike. It's the Ukrainians making something look that way. There was a
Yeah,
big deal made last week of a drone that neared Romanian airspace and crashed into the sea. Well, the story was big when it came out because everyone said it was a Russian drone. What they didn't say was the follow-up story that came out yesterday that now that pieces of it have washed ashore, it was a Ukrainian drone. And that keeps happening in a lot of other places where these drones are flying over or into NATO territory. And everyone screeches about Russian drones. And then it turns out when we actually get to the wreckage that it's got that little blue and yellow flag on it. I'm like, oh, wait, whoops, it wasn't actually the Russians.
yeah,
So I'm worried that as honest and upstanding as the Ukrainian administration is of Volodymyr Zelensky, who says the best way to defend democracy is by denying democratic processes to his people. I have no problems believing they would lie about an attack to try and get more help.
yeah. No, I think you're right on the money. Jim, what's your take?
Uh, I've seen reports that the Russians are offering to pay people to do things in Europe.
That
It
wouldn't surprise me.
it wouldn't surprise me. And again, you get back to the conversations about what is and what is not Russian these days. You have so much transnational criminal stuff because of the sourcing of materials and the disposition of oil, dealing with the Chinese, dealing with the de-dollarization of their platform. You can see a lot of people are getting their oxen gored, who are aligned with the Russians from the standpoint of how they make money.
Yeah,
So yeah, I, I'm going to guess some of what you've seen over the summer in Europe is at the hands of agents of the Russian thing, not directly from the government, but from the shit that's going on vis-a-vis Russia coming apart. Um, Putin knows he doesn't have a lot of time, but Ukraine's also under an immense amount of pressure. Zelensky's had people call for elections. He doesn't want to do elections. He's losing the support of the young people. It's a scrappy time for both of them, but this always happens in these protracted conflicts. It's a matter of who's the last man standing. Um, and clearly, the Brits have gone hard with Zelensky. We'll see. We'll see.
yeah,
I understand why the British are into this in Europe. It's a purposeful thing by them, and they're still a close ally from our standpoint. So we gotta listen to their needs. But I feel really badly for the Ukrainians these days. Let's put it that way. I've met a lot of these young Ukrainian guys, and they're solid people. Um, do I want them to be a deployable power outside of NATO within Europe? Only if they're on side, and got to keep them on side. And I think that's part of the logic of what the UK and the Germans and the Finns and the French are doing is trying to keep them on side in the long term.
That was a very diplomatic answer, Jim. Very well.
Thank you, Joe.
Actually, you're right. You're
It's my
100%
it's
right
my
about it.
calling. There is a
Yeah.
little bit of fear of what Ukraine has been built into across Europe. It's
yeah.
it's
Well,
it's an
Yeah,
interesting
some people
problem for
did
Europe.
not see that coming. And I don't know if you've seen Kyle. He's about that tall. Yeah, there is that worry.
yeah, they are now the Europe's largest military, with probably the most battle tested military in Europe at this point. So it's kind of like they have a hungry bear sitting in their living room, and they have to keep feeding it. If they stop feeding it, it may look to them um, in some potential future version. Um, and then on top of it all, you've got this right here. Let me share my screen here. Uh, Joe, this is kind of giving me total Cold War vibes, and it's completely in line with what we've seen over the last 48 hours. Um, Russia just demonstrated one of its mobile nuclear missiles in action. Their missile was fired from Plytsk in northern Russia and traveled around 5,700 kilometers across the country to Kura test range in Kamchatka. They never said exactly which missile it was, but the launcher and setup looked like a RS-24 Yars, one of its nuclear missiles that can be driven around instead of sitting in a silo. There was no actual nuke on it. The training warhead reportedly made it to the target. That's why these things are on trucks. They move around, find a spot, fire, and get the hell out of there. Yeah, this is exactly the kind of thing that you would expect in this kind of saber rattling scenario. Um,
Speaking of Kamchatka, there's a fire going on there at a refinery, and so far 6 Chinese nationals have died in this fire, and about 145 Russians have been injured. And it's kind of a massive refinery fire in that area.
all right, last story in this segment. Kiev records 13 straight air raid alerts in a single day, the most since the full-scale invasion began as Russia attacks continue into the morning. So shocking! Right after you blow up one of their largest oil refinements, they want to hit you back. Not a big surprise here. Kiev recorded 13 air raids over a 24-hour period on August 27th, setting a single-day record for the capital since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022. Officials reported in total, Kiev spent 872 minutes, nearly 15 hours, under air raid alerts throughout the day on August 27th. According to the Ukraine's foreign ministry, the previous record appeared to be set on March 1st, 2022, when Kiev was placed under air alert for 12 times in a single day. I love how they're keeping records like this. The capital saw 8 more air raid alerts by the morning of August 28th as Russian forces continued attacking Kiev and surrounding areas overnight. The first alerts on the 28th were issued around midnight, with explosions again heard in Kiev around 12:30 a.m. local time, according to Kiev independent journalists on the ground. Russia's barrage of jet-powered drones and ballistic and cruise missiles targeting Kiev and Kiev Oblast. At least 4 people were injured and 1 person killed over the past day. The attacks were part of a larger overnight drone assault, with Russia launching 164 drones across Ukraine. Ukrainian forces shot down 137 of them, while another 10 remain in Ukrainian airspace as of 9 a.m. local time, the Air Force said. Due to prolonged air raid alerts across the country, train schedules were significantly disrupted, with some trains delayed several hours.
We must
Uh,
make the trains run on time.
yeah. Uh, let's see. For regions even closer to the front, even longer alerts are an everyday reality. But what Kiev experienced on the 27th shows another way Russia is using weapons to disrupt civilian lives. Repeated drone launches, keeping a city of millions under threat throughout the day. Yeah, so I mean, this is going to continue until they figure out what the hell they're going to do to end this war. Russia doesn't seem like it wants to give up, and neither does Ukraine. So if that's the case, then I mean, the war just keeps on going. You know,
The
it's
bombings will continue until morale declines.
right. Yeah. All right. Anything else on what this whole Russia kind of panic that's gone on, guys? I mean, I think that a lot of this is built up over the last 3 years. A lot of the people in NATO have this, feel like they have a Russian sort of Damocles over their head. But in reality, I think it's very unlikely that Russia would ever attack a NATO country because they want to continue to exist. That's probably the one thing that could dethrone Putin would be a complete NATO commitment to war with Russia, which would ultimately go nuclear. I think, because I think the Russia would take a play out of our Cold War playbook and say, "Listen, we don't have as many military as you do, but we can drop nukes on our own soil to keep you off of it." So. All right. Anything else, guys?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
Jim.
I think that there's a discussion underway of how Russia develops an off ramp for this, and I just don't know what Putin's life expectancy is. So, I think those are the two kind of edge pieces. Is Putin's getting on, uh, he's got nowhere to go, uh, so he's probably internally a bit vulnerable at this point, and he's going to go all out this fall and winter. And I think everybody's aware of that. That's been talked about publicly.
Yeah.
The alternative to that is to not do that, right? And so I'm going to guess that was probably a sidebar. And that was probably a personal sidebar to somebody who's comfortable talking to somebody. There's somebody who had a relationship that was probably brought on that trip. They had that conversation. I hope it ticks because I'm really tired of seeing kids die. Um, Generations of children are dying, and you can dislike the Russian milieu, you can dislike the Ukrainians, but generations of children dying is never a good thing. It doesn't end up well in the long run. So I'm kind of on the side of it'd be really nice to find an option. Yeah, in fact, the North Koreans are being sent to fight in Ukraine.
Y-
It shows
Again,
you how difficult it is in Russia right now.
yeah,
But it's also really, really difficult in Ukraine. So,
this is one of the things I haven't reported on, but it's worth mentioning that evidently I guess another 30,000 North Koreans are uh, are going, and the idea, I guess, is for them to fill in rear area security roles. Um,
that's good. Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to picture the kid from rural North Korea with the gun being sent being sent to Russia to do security in Russian towns near the border. That
yeah.
won't go over well culturally.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how that works, but I think the initial idea makes sense that you try to free up Russian hands so that they can then go fight in the war zone. But inevitably, you're going to see North Koreans, and I'll be honest with you, I think the North Koreans want to continue to blood their troops and to bring back new TTPs and new weapon systems.
Well, I think
Um,
that putting them in the rear area makes the most sense because the sheer amount of training and feeding you have to do to actually make these guys capable of serving on the front line
Staggering.
uh, is too cost inefficient, which is one of the problems they had as a mass casualty rate when the Koreans did actually get in battle. But if you think about it, the average North Korean, doesn't get to eat as often as you and I do. That makes him very vulnerable and weak on the front line when fighting corn-fed Ukrainian boys, right?
Yeah, even their elite forces, which get a lot more calories than the average person, they don't eat nearly as much as say an American or a European soldier. So, yeah,
And
that's
for
100%.
Grizz in the chat, any update on CI meeting? Where you been the last 15 minutes? Because we covered
We
that
just
at
talked
length,
about that.
bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's
So our my
rewind, homie.
next
Rewind.
Yeah, so normally we do domestic Fridays, but ultimately I think what you're seeing in northern Morocco, i.e., Quetta, the Spanish enclave in northern Morocco, is exactly what, in some ways, we should probably see happening in America. Um, People in this is the enough is enough segment of the show. Let me pull this up and share my screen here. This is one of those kind of things, Joe. It's about time somebody somewhere in the world is standing up to the immigrants who are just
Well, this
running
is one of
wild
the
through the
things that I
streets.
have pointed out for a very, very long time. When the government refuses to take action for long enough, even in a European society that's highly controlled, the citizens will eventually say, all right, I'm out. We got to do something, right? And that's kind of what happened.
Yeah, before I get into this, been there, done that. Yeah, absolutely. Wasn't potentially criminal supposed to attend more shows? Now, we were in his chat last time pressuring him to come. And while I don't know that he was going to come today, he has said that he wants to start coming on the show more often.
Listen, this is where you can all help us. Bullying works.
That's right. Peer pressure works. Right. Exactly.
Let's all bully Sean into getting on the show more.
Yeah, exactly right. See, I mean, it worked with Jim. We peer pressured Jim into coming, and he's happy enough to oblige. All right. Uprising in Quetta. Locals have had enough of migrant invasion. The complete absence of any meaningful government action. The people. Yeah, when you get abused, you get angry and you get incensed, and rage is what drives you versus these kind of civilized liberal progressive values you commonly see in Spain. The people of Quetta have taken matters into their own hands. On Wednesday night, Spanish flags filled the street in the North African enclave. Crowds chanted for deportations, and then a column of residents pushed through the El Trampolon, beach, the open-air settlement that has occupied a family shoreline for nearly a month. Tents came down, belongings went into the sea. Police formed a line between the Spaniards and the camps and opened fire with rubber bullets on the locals, not the migrants.
Not the migrants.
Yeah.
Let's shoot at the ones who have a legal right to be there.
Let's hold on a second. Let me share my other screen here.
Let me point out that if you don't have a legal right to breathe the same air as me, i.e., you're an illegal alien, you don't have a right to protest, whether it's in Spain or here.
Yeah. These are not small crowds either. Here's another. These are just it's kind of hard to see exactly how they are, but this. I thought this video did a good job of kind of showing how pissed off these people are. Let's see. When the locals saw the journalist from the liberal TV channel La Sexta, they arrived to slander the protest against illegal immigration. The locals quickly walked up to them and told them to get lost. Yeah, so this is exactly if you're at a protest and you see CNN or MSNBC or somebody you know is a liberal outlet, do not treat them kindly.
Evidentemente.
These people are not happy.
Using some universal hand signals.
The kids have been waiting their whole lives to do that too. And there's police right there, by the way. So this is all being done right in front of the police. Let's see. So what they're chanting, deport the illegals. the picture of this is now coming out of the city of roughly 84,000 people was flooded at the end of July by a crossing. By crossing, Spanish officials have put above 70,000. In some tallies, nearly 80,000. So almost doubling the entire population of the enclave.
I'll say, yeah, it's not a very big place. So
No, it's not. It's one of those quaint European, Mediterranean, you know, I won't want to say village, but towns. I don't know if city is the right word for it. The government spent weeks talking about coexistence, diversity, normality. Quetta spent those same weeks living with feces in children's parks, hospital wards under strain, and rising stack of sexual assault files. On Wednesday, the patient snapped. Here's another. Let's see what. I get the feeling this is the soccer hooligans getting engaged. Channeling their inner soccer hooligan there. But you can't blame them. I mean, like these people are literally under siege. And here's the thing: there are places in America where the people are similarly under siege, but have not even gotten this angry.
Well, the problem we have is like there was a tweet somebody put out the other day. It says, "Isn't it amazing the number of laws you have to follow in order to retain your freedom?" We've gotten this point in America where we've got so many laws and so many protesters on the right side of things have been given a smackdown for simply expressing displeasure that we're conditioned to. It's better to just not. I'm just going to let it happen. It'll work out in the end. But this is the inevitable result, right? Where your entire population is completely replaced. There's a 1-for-1 replacement now in that town, right? If they emptied out all of the Spanish people, the town size would not change, right? There has to be that point in America where we say, all right, look, we have had enough and we need to do something about it. I don't know when we get there or what, and I'm not the guy who's going to get out there, and I'm not advocating for it. Actually, you know what I am? There has to be that point. There has to be that hard stop, that turnaround where we say, look, we are done. We've got this set of rules that we established all the way back in the beginning, and you've broken them.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Joe.
Flock cameras plus illegal immigration should have you there right now.
The protest began in late afternoon in O'Donnell outside the old military hospital. One of the sites residents feared the central government wanted to turn into a migrant housing. El Mundo put more than 2,000 people at the government delegation. Other Spanish outlets describe a larger march through the center. Spanish and Quetta flags everywhere. Slogans are hammered out for hours. They demanded the resignation of Prime Minister Sanchez, somebody we have long talked about since he kind of rose
The
to
word
predominance.
you were searching for was despised. Someone we have long despised.
Yes, exactly
and
right.
Listen, there were way more than 2,000 people in that video.
Oh yeah, 100%. And those are not the same crowds on just different streets, right?
Yeah.
These are different crowds. Let's see. And the government delegate of the city, Miguel Angel Perez Tirano. Here's another one. This is down at the beach. Kind of busting up the migrant. Those beaches are turned into giant litter boxes. They're gonna have to take the giant sifting shovels out there, Joe, to clean it up before it'll be safe for families.
Yeah.
Let's see. When night fell, a few hundred broke.
It's a tough situation.
It's throwing camp gear into the water. Let's see here. This is Spanish police shooting rubber bullets at the protesters near the beach.
A los españoles.
I mean, Joe, that's not like that's not like the first thing you do if you have an unruly crowd. I mean, that's like, pretty far down the
It's
escalation.
pretty far down the road. Like after gas, after water, after flashbangs and smoke.
Yeah. Police blocked the main part of the beach. Deterrent rounds followed. Yes, really, they fired rubber bullets at Spaniards protesting illegal settlements, but there's no such volley when tens of thousands illegally stormed the border in July. More action at the beach, and there's a lot of police just standing around looking too. So I can't imagine all the police are super happy.
We can't hear you.
Say again, Joe.
We couldn't hear you because you had the audio playing.
Yeah. I was gonna say there were police standing around watching them tear those tents down. So they weren't not all the police are super upset about this. You can tell.
All right.
So this is a soft power strike on Pedro Sanchez, right? So Pedro Sanchez pissed everybody off at the end of last year, early this year, and a bunch of folks out of DC and Jerusalem came out and said, "Boy, it's really silly how Spain is doing all this socialist stuff, yet they still control these enclaves in Morocco." And that really empowered the people who put together the crowds to go into Ceuta and Melilla. And remember, there's a really long history with the Spanish Sahara and Morocco. So people on the US side and on the Israeli side called out this in public, and they're neocon intellectuals, let's put it that way, or DC insider intellectuals. And there were a couple of articles written in February and March. That was the grounds of igniting this problem. And it's pretty straightforward. But the Spanish don't have much to stand on except history. But the Moroccans have history too. And the socialist management of Spain is clearly lacking. And the Spanish people are split, but we'll see how that comes out politically in Spain. But I don't think Pedro Sanchez would survive another election, but he's going to do everything in his power not to have one. But they got called out. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So it's almost as if Spain has forgotten why they hold these territories in North Africa, right?
Yeah, they couldn't answer the question. It's just that they
it's
do.
almost like there's a whole reason and a whole history between Spain and the residents of North Africa. But I'll be honest and be fair to the Moroccans. The conquest of Spain was not done by Moroccans, by the
That's
Berbers.
correct.
It was done by Arabs who came from the east, the Islamic conquest of North Africa, and then the Islamic conquest of Europe. So the Berbers actually resisted that and overthrew that, and that's who lives in Morocco and Algeria and some of the others. So, but
there's a whole power struggle going on in that part of Africa right now. And
right, but that being said, Spain should remember her roots and should not be allowing in the Islamic invader.
No, they can't, but they will.
But they will.
Under Pedro
Sanchez, that's their policy.
It's the rub.
And the other thing is that you have this weird suicidal empathy to ring that bell again, where there are some people in Spain who feel like these Berbers have some claim to parts of Spain because of their occupation during the Middle Ages.
Well, I would challenge
which is
that
absolutely
these guys who are rushing the
insane.
fence there are not Berbers.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. My point is they're just using that as a kind of I don't know, soft way of saying Muslims, right? Because so anyway, it's it'll be interesting to see where this goes. Let me let's see. Vox, they're the kind of the AFD of Spain. The right wing kind of anti-immigrant party. They're polling at at as high as 19% now, up from a clear gain from 12.5% in the last elections. Uh, and this has been growing since July. So it's not just what's happening in Sweden that has caused this. Um, let's see. Sigma Dose in July had Vox at 17.3%, which would give them about 58 to 61 seats in the parliament or house or whatever they have there. With the right wing bloc exceeding 50% of the vote for the first time in a series of polls. These figures already reflect the late July mass crossing of 80,000, 60 to 80,000 from Morocco into the enclave, and the government's broader immigration policies, including regularization process that polls showed majority opposed to. The government has publicly flagged concerns that Vox would benefit from electorally from the sweater crisis. The interesting thing here is that you've seen a push by European countries across to outlaw and uh, to outlaw or essentially disallow the participation of these right wing parties um, from the process because essentially they don't want to lose their nut, right? It's like they're going authoritarian in order to, and I could easily see the left doing that in Spain because Spain is more egregious than even France or Germany. Uh, I just want. Do you guys have a kind of a thought on politically how this could kind of send Spain?
Yeah, it's going to push Spain to the right, which is what it was designed to do.
Yeah,
It was very simple. It was designed to punish Pedro Sanchez for trying to throw Israel under the bus about Gaza while owning Arab lands in North Africa. Now, the long-term history of that argument, you don't need to make it, right? It's
right.
Morocco's a fairly new country. Everybody's pointing that out. Yeah, but they are the local peoples of that region, right? So if you really want to start yelling about colonialism and all this stuff, don't do it, right? And that's the rub here is Pedro Sanchez is full of shit. He's like Abu Sayed. He's like all these other guys. It's like, hey, don't do what I do and don't listen to my words because they don't match. Uh, he's a buffoon. He's a socialist buffoon, and
Yeah.
so he's been called out. And
Sorry.
he
Sorry.
was vulnerable. No, he was vulnerable. They targeted him. But this is the result of his actions vis-a-vis going after Bibi Netanyahu and then saying that he wanted to ban Israel in the EU, and you know, he, he's an idiot, and so his own people now are calling him out. But he was vulnerable to a single event, right?
Yeah.
So
It's not Monday, but okay. We only have to. We only have to. We only have to
Yeah,
hold
yeah,
up the
yeah,
Israel flag on Monday, Jim.
yeah. We don't get paid for glazing Israel on
We don't
Friday.
get an extra payment for defending Israel on Friday, but your point is well taken and
no, it's
true.
not. There's no defense. There's no defense of anybody. It's
Yeah.
pointing out the strategic moves people make. And
Yeah.
what this was a guy in politics in Europe got a bug in his ass about something. He thought he could assert himself and get some attention, and it
And he
would
can't.
distract from some of his problems. And boy, he was wrong because he had this hanging Chad problem in North Africa that had just been put to bed. They just sorted out the Sahara and it was incomplete. And so when you make commitments like that and then you go do stupid shit like go after the Israelis on Gaza, you got a problem. And lo and behold, here's the problem. And it's not going
Uh,
away quickly.
yeah. Let's see. The left-wing government said that spent a month insisting the situation was under control. Found the will to fire on its own civilians the moment those civilians tried to recover a public beach. By Thursday morning, the temperature had risen again. AFP reported military vehicles with 4 soldiers ambushed in the early hours by a crowd of 70 migrants. So shocking. It's not the protesters who got shot at the day before by the police with rubber bullets attacking the military. It's the migrants. It's almost like it's like the Spanish authorities are on the wrong side. 4 Spanish soldiers were injured.
Ironically, Spain has a very capable military, and for some reason, they refuse to deploy them to this situation.
Yeah. And what
controllability.
they also have Garda, which is basically like the gendarme, like a militarized national police organization as well. The soldiers were forced to abandon their vehicle and flee on foot, being pursued and struck. The injured soldiers received medical treatment. The soldiers fled and called for police. 12 Moroccan men were detained. 1 soldier was slightly injured. Let's see. The finance minister said tension in the city of Quetta was very high there because there is no response from the government and we feel abandoned. Remaining migrant shanty camps on the beach were set alight and destroyed. This is kind of funny. So I guess what didn't work the night before was they were able to get it done during the middle of the day. Shocking that this is that this was it was unpopular for the police to shoot at their own people. Or the police showing up afterwards. I think these are because they start yelling like Allahu Akbar, and typical Muslim types of things. And the police aren't stopping this. Yeah, there's the Spaniards.
Goalie said the same thing you did before the show about Balochistan.
What's that? Yeah, Quetta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's interesting too is that Spain is a member of the European Union, and please stop the and the European Union has its own border control agency called Frontex, right? Where's Frontex? Not here.
Yeah, oddly enough, I talk about that in my locals thing that I'm gonna drop that after the show is over. But let me see. Let me pull it up real quick. I can read a little bit here.
My apologies, everyone.
What?
Grupo Faro.
Grupo Faro. I don't know what that is. All right, let's go back. I don't have it. Let's see. City Hall 8. Let's see. There's more.
Ahí está la imagen. Esta es la imagen. Están destrozando.
So this is them just kind of tearing apart the beach camp. And I mean, the police probably overstepped shooting initially into the crowd, but
SpongeBob is anti-immigrant. I like it.
SpongeBob is anti-Muslim, Joe. Come on.
Hey man, we're gonna go down to the protest. What are you gonna wear? My SpongeBob shirt.
City Hall, 8 groups counting food rations and anyone who with eyes at the beach, the hills in the warehouse district that night where thousands of migrants remain. We've seen mother weeping on television. One said her 16-year-old has to go everywhere with her father. Yeah. This is actually an older video we watched earlier in the week.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sisters Yoli and Maria Jose pulled their daughters out of the city. We feel humiliated, trampled. I have had to take my daughters out of the house because the government does nothing. The beaches are used to hold families because camps on reeds, huts, plastic, rotting food, urine, human waste, children's parks were left smeared in shit. Hospitals were opened. Emergency capacity. Doctors speak in scabies, tuberculosis, impetigo, and a health catastrophe. This was an example of coexistence, inclusion. Chose to praise from a minister, Elma says, as chose to praise from a distance. Sweden is a true example of coexistence, a city in which different cultures, traditions, and faiths coexist, uh, which has demonstrated over decades that one of its greatest strengths. Diversity, she added, is our greatest strength, and she did say this from afar, not not standing right there at the beach. So yeah, this is a problem that's not going away. Oh, and then you have, this is the suicidal empathy we talked about. She's sitting there yelling "Free Palestine" while they call her Barbie Gaza. You get the feeling that she is one of those, once you go, you can't go back type of girls, Joe.
Yeah, she'll be found dead in 3 days.
Let's see. Yeah, there's not much more to talk about with this. I mean, it's a pretty bad situation, and this is exactly what we're going to see. It's kind of like England, right? This is a preview of what we're going to see on our own streets if we continue to go the way we are. All right, 2 hours, 1 minute exactly. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's go around the horn. Joe, look into the weekend. What's in your crystal ball?
I'd watch for this situation to continue to spiral, and actually lead to some real, actual violence between the two groups. So far, there's been a couple of things burned down, but no actual, literal combat between the two parties. Right?
Yeah.
We may see that. You may see some police casualties over the weekend. The other thing is I'm waiting over the weekend for the other Russian shoe to drop. So,
yeah,
we should see.
Putin has never been one to just kind of sit on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Jim?
Agree with Joe on Russia, and I think this thing in Morocco, the resolution isn't going to be in favor of Pedro Sanchez. Let's put it that way. And it isn't going away. I think they'd hoped it would go away. It's not going away. What else do I see? I think you're coming up on the 1st of September, right? So the world reawakens in Europe and the Middle East. People come back to the office. So you're going to see a lot of things moving in Europe in the next week or two, because people are coming back to life after their month and a half off. And I think we're going to see some interesting facts shifting out of what happened in Nepal.
Yeah, that was going to be the thing that I kind of brought attention to. I feel like there's more to follow with this whole Nepal situation vis-a-vis China. I think China is going to find a way to step in it to the point where they can't step out of it again. And I don't know if that looks like them causing trouble somewhere else to distract, or if like, well, we just need to go in and take care of the Nepalese. This is this disaster is an opportunity to share Chinese largesse and subsume Nepal, which is not something that I think has been off the table ever. I think China's always kind of had a big appetite when it comes to these Central Asian countries.
Have you ever seen The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy?
Yeah. Yeah.
The scene in there where he's like, "Viva Nepal! Viva Nepal! Nepal! Viva Nepal!" It just came to mind when Jim said that. So,
That's funny.
Thanks.
Viva Nepal. All right. If you guys don't mind, check out our locals later today. I will have a new thing up. It will be about the Quetta stuff. Just kind of my take on where it's going and some of the reflections from the last couple shows. I got a good Joe quote in there that I accurately attribute. So Joe, I relate to your watching, you spending like 20 years or whatever watching Dearborn, as a like what could happen with these types
Yeah.
of situations. So just because it's not happening exactly the way it's happening here, doesn't mean it's not coming. So keep that in mind. All right, guys, that's all I have. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jim, for being here. Thank you, Joe. Chat, you guys were awesome too. We'll be back on Monday, same time, same channel. If you haven't done already, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. Let people know you're getting some good stuff over here on the Council on Future Conflict. Thank you, guys, and thank you, chat. As always, stay safe.